In this episode of the Magical World of G. Michael Vasey podcast, I'm talking to Marja West. We had a wonderful conversation and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. My thanks to Marja. And if you enjoy this podcast, please do subscribe to the channel, like and share, helps me a lot. Or leave a comment, even if it's negative, it still helps. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, the common thread that has gone on for probably the last pushing 40 years is that and let me just use woke terminology. I identify as a trauma deactivator. So I've been facilitating that now pushing 40 years.
What is that? That's the bit.
So the majority of the people that I work with are survivors of trafficking. So we are talking I'm working with people who have experienced the most egregious and horrific of fucked up human behavior.
Right.
The violence, the blood ritual that people don't want to talk about. And I've done actually a tour of a lot of these places where there are rape camps. There are facilities where kids are getting trafficked and all this kind of stuff. And I've got into a lot of trouble going into these places. So I'm no longer doing that. I'm no longer outing that kind of thing because I'm not part of law enforcement. I'm not part of any secret societies or any of that kind of shit. I'm mostly hand-holding people who are have, number one, escaped or have somehow figured out a way to waltz in and out of that world and are endeavoring to extricate for themselves from that life. Because much of that life is very much generational. It's very much mind controlled, and it's very much controlled by handlers and by people who are in charge of that sort of thing. And so what I've done over the years is, because I didn't want to be a therapist and because I saw the need for someone to intervene on some level, I basically created my own protocols and my own programs that I fund myself and have managed throughout nearly 4 decades, go into certain parts of the world and also offer it online since 2003, to be able to teach people how to deactivate their traumas, deactivate their mind control, learn certain ways of up-leveling our ways of thinking, doing the energy mastery protocols of deactivating entities, deactivating the controllers, deactivating all of that mindset garbage that just crushes the human spirit. And it's not pretty. It is not a glamorous thing to do.
I have no knowledge or experience of that sort of a world at all. It's like movie stuff for me.
Yeah. And it's very, very real. And actually, in many ways, you do this sort of work in your explorations of earth energies, because a lot of the toxicity that the planet has experienced, whether it's environmental or energetic or technological, the human body goes through the same thing. And so that's been my fascination with your work. I've followed you for a number of years, and just the books that I have enjoyed of yours, particularly your trilogy, where I like that writing style, because it's as if I'm standing next to you, walking next to you, and having the experience. And in essence, what I do with these survivors is that I'm literally doing the same thing.
Right.
And that, and so a lot of this has come about because I was a very battered, neglected, violently abused child. I was raised by a very psychotic, mentally disturbed mother who, in appearance, she was drop dead beautiful, very, very smart, PhD, but a psychopath, and did not want to have me around. and didn't choose well as far as who my father was, who was never in my life. And her way of dealing with me was to try to mold me, whether physically, emotionally, energetically, by, just pounding into me that I was the sort of devil girl. I was born with a full call at 41 weeks. And, that just doesn't happen. And so there was this sort of evil overlay over me. And little did I know that it was a sign of other things other than being evil or being some kind of a dark mistress of humanity's undoing. And so I think a lot of that really triggered my own sensitivities of going out into nature, going out and exploring the trees and hanging out with the trees, hanging out with the animals, hanging out with the birds and the bees and all of that. So that was kind of my escape. And as I learned how to escape in many, many different ways, whether that's leaving my body or just going out on a journey in my own head or actually physically leaving, I have a sensitivity to earth energies, much like yourself. And I also have a very sensitive sort of outreach where I always knew when people were in trouble, when kids were in trouble. So I've always had that inkling since I was a child. And, so it was very, very disturbing for me. And I managed because I learned that instead of allowing fear and abuse to crush me, I fought back. I may not have fought back literally, figuratively, and physically, but I fought back where I plotted. I plotted my escape. And so by the time I was 14, I managed to get the fuck out because I knew that eventually this woman would probably kill me. And so I've learned to fend for myself. And how do you fend for yourself? You tune in. You tune into weather. You tune into what's going on up in the sky. You tune into what your environment is like. So I've always had like that sort of a radar. There's the 360 inspection that's happening constantly, even to this day. And I know a lot of people have labeled that, well, maybe you're a little autistic or a little bit on the spectrum or something, whatever. I don't care. But I think people like myself and like you are needed because we need to champion certain things that are like overlooked or willfully ignored or just not even picked up because most people are just overwhelmed by this distraction and that distraction that really doesn't even matter.
It's funny, I often think I don't really understand people at all. I have great difficulty understanding other people at times because I've raised this is the fourth kid that I've raised or had a hand in raising, let's put it that way. And I sometimes wonder how I've even managed because I don't think you sound like you're a very sympathetic person. I think I'm quite an Aquarian cold sort of person, really, and can be somewhat distant and logical and scientific, and I also had an upbringing that was tremendously naive. My mum and dad were very naive, very, very. I mean, they thought that when they got married, they thought babies came when you kissed, things like this, and that's literally true.
Oh my!
I had very embarrassing conversations with my mum. When I was a young man about various things, where she was, learning from me about the birds and the bees, and she'd had 3 kids already.
Yeah.
So they were very naive, very innocent. I was raised in a nice environment and never experienced anything except maybe a bit of bullying at school because I was different, and just sort of sailed through life. I mean, just everything I seemed to turn my attention to was a reasonable degree of success. PhD, career, own business, this kind of thing. But throughout it all, I was plagued by these paranormal experiences, poltergeists and ghosts, and a
Mhm.
sort of obsession with magic, and I knew something, something was there was something else. And so
Yes.
when I got interested in magic properly and had the opportunity to explore it, my life crumbled. And it was then that I had to face some real issues because, I thought I was naive and innocent too. I thought, you got married to a lady and you stayed married till you died and you had kids and
Yeah.
happy ever after. To get divorced, to leave,
Yeah.
walk away, go 6,000 miles, leave a big house, 3 Mercedes, and a big boat on the lake, and a big job,
Woo! Yeah.
and live in
No,
a one-room
I've
apartment.
been there as well. I've
It
been
was like,
there as well.
to me, it was like my whole life collapsed. And
Yeah.
in the same way, that's when everything for me began, because I started to realize that I didn't know who the hell I was.
Yeah.
Everything that I thought I knew was somebody else's idea. It was my mum or my dad or my
Yeah.
schooling or
Yeah.
my favorite teacher or my religion or my
Yeah.
what I'd
It's
been
all
taught
got
at
to
school.
go. It all has to
And
go.
it all has, yeah, and that's where I thought perhaps we had some similarities in terms of
Yeah.
what we do, because I'm now, if you subscribe to my Substack, I'm doing quite a lot of writing, particularly at the moment, about how we have to work on ourselves and learn about who the hell we are, because
Yes.
otherwise we're useless, right?
Yes.
We're just
Yes.
NPCs like the rest.
Yes. And
Um,
that's crucial right there. And that is the interface that I have with my clients and with my students, is
yeah,
that it's not just deactivating the trauma and de-armoring your body. You have to think properly. You have to
yeah,
learn how to not identify with your PTSD and your stories and the
yeah,
traumas and all the things. And that is a bitch to do, because we are programmed to weaponize that shit so that
yeah,
we blame it and we spew and we can get angry and upset and act violent with impunity and have no consequences or no culpability whatsoever.
yeah,
And that is like, that's wrong. It's just immoral
yeah.
in my opinion.
So yeah,
And
I mean that's
yeah,
when I was looking at all your stuff, that was like the parallel for me was, and getting into nature and working with earth energies, and I've said before, I feel a bit sometimes like I'm an earth magician. I'm like my dowsing rods and my magical wand,
and I
and
use dowsing in my work. I use dowsing in my work.
yeah,
I studied kinesiology, and the dowsing was just, what? It's like, okay, there's too much heady shit going on here. Let's just get to the brass tacks of it. And
mhm.
that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around. It actually can get in the way of the healing work. It can get in the way of moving forward and really connecting with your inner landscape and your what is it, your sovereignty, your inner monarchy of your own inner masculine and feminine, your authority, because dowsing, muscle testing, kinesiology, what the fuck is that shit? That is just like hoodoo, voodoo, woodoo, new age shit. And unfortunately, the new agers have really screwed it
Oh
up
yeah,
for,
yeah, 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 absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
because they have separated all the different things. Like people will ask me, well, how do you do all this clearing stuff? Well, you have to address the human in its totality. So it's not only their energy field, you have to deal with entities. You've got to deal with projections into the field. You have to deal with the chakra system. You have to deal with the meridian system, and you have to deal with the belief structures. And so, there's so many people, well, I use tapping, or I clean the chakras, or I do. No, you got to do all that shit, man. And you've got to do it in the order protocol that is going to allow you and your client, whoever you're working with, to be able to answer correctly as themselves while you are asking questions, rather than having some entity or projection answer for them. And that is what's going on most of the time, because people don't even realize they're overcome by either their grandmother yelling at them or beating them, or
Mhm.
some teacher, some bully from the past, or could be a
Yeah.
past life. I mean, I've seen weird shit happen like that. So yeah, it's crucial.
Where I'm at right now is that I'm beginning to sort of somehow draw parallels between the paranormal and everything else. And I know that sounds daft, but I
I
I've
think it's
done a lot of
awesome.
collection of ghost stories and
Mhm.
hauntings. It's been my hobby for a long, long time. And Thomas Sheridan said something the other day about these people that run the haunting podcasts and stuff. What are they playing with? And I think some people create their own hauntings. And in a sense, what they're doing in creating the haunting is exactly the way that they're creating the rest of their life, which
Mhm.
is everything's a bloody narrative. And that's where I've got to. Everything is a
Yeah.
narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Religion is a narrative.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's, everything is a bloody narrative. So you become just a pre-programmed automaton walking around reacting as
Yes.
opposed to being you and
Yes.
creating your own damn reality.
Yes. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And people get butt hurt when you call them out on that kind of thing. They
Yeah.
get very, very upset and defensive,
Yeah.
violently defensive, and would like to take you out.
Yeah.
And we're not talking dinner here, we're talking like really wishing your demise, because how dare you poke at that little thing.
Well,
that
I'm with Thomas on things like I don't think aliens are aliens. I think they're interdimensional beings.
they are interdimensional. And
And
I actually have a lot of experience in navigating that with clients over the whole of my private practice and such. And it's spooky. There are some energies that come up where the visceral reactivity that my body is having, even though I am not witnessing per se what they are experiencing, it's like it spooked me quite a lot. But I don't back down. I'm like, I am in charge of my energy here, so
yeah.
I've not experienced a lot of fallout from those instances, thankfully.
Yeah.
But I also do a lot of safety protocols before I do any of it.
Yeah, I sometimes get a bit lackadaisical about that. I need to wrap myself on the knuckles, but I don't know. What the contrast between me as a child, where I'd hide under the covers and sleep with the light on and react to the slightest creak of the house, and now I don't want to tempt anything, touch wood, but I can. What my daughter's like, Dad, how can you watch these ghost YouTube channels and then go to bed easily?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't bother me because I'm interested in understanding what part of, you see, I think that somewhere there is the key to how reality really is. And this is why I wrote this book, Liminal People, and I'm writing a new one called Liminal Worlds. And it's this idea that it's like a radio frequency, and there's so many parallel universes. And some of these entities are real. They live in a parallel universe, and then some of them are aware of us and use our energy and interact with us. Angels,
Yes, they
demons,
do.
both sides of the house, so to speak.
Yeah.
Some of them are not. I mean, I know lots and lots of stories of people encountering shadow people in their houses, and the shadow person turns and runs because to the shadow person, the human is the shadow person in their reality, and it scares them.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, you've also got a whole, I think, cache of experiences that are simply I'm haunting myself.
Yes.
I'm building, I want to say egregore, but it's more of a tulpa. I'm building a thought form or a tulpa.
Yes.
And
And
it
that's
takes on
what
a life
trauma
of its
does.
own.
That's
Yeah.
the trauma-based mind control right there.
Yes.
And that is my problem with psychotherapy, is that, wow, you're going to talk about this forever and ever and ever. And there is such a thing as reactivating trauma spaces again and again and again. And I think what it does is that it creates another portal to dysregulate the nervous system once again. And then not only that, you do it enough times, you'll actually fuck with your brain chemistry such that you are in this constant state of paranoia or reactivity or over and over and over and over again, and it becomes addictive, I think. And so all these drama queens out there that are needing their safe spaces, and oh my God, and I love how Tomasz calls it like Trump's name is a killing word. I mean, I just fucking
Oh, I'm sorry.
cracked up so much. I thought it was so funny the way he described it, because people lose their fucking minds.
Absolutely, and I don't get it. You know,
I don't get it either.
what has he
In
done?
their head,
Nothing to them. Nothing.
it's crazy. And the meltdowns, like I have seen people melt down at airports, and then I'm like, what the hell is happening? And you look, there's a screen and there's a newscast. It was some shit show that's happening, and I don't follow any of that stuff, so I'm just perplexed. I don't get it.
And no, I don't get it either. I don't get it. I mean, there are people that I don't like, but it doesn't make me have a meltdown when I see them on TV.
Yes, exactly.
They're just people, and I don't agree with them. And I think they're, create. I mean, I think we live in a world where it's all about fear creation, and through fear creation is control, and also, that results in people expelling energy that can be used.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who they is. That's the problem. We talk about they, but I don't know who the they are, shall I say. I just haven't, I can't figure that one out. And I can't figure why so many people seem to be willing accomplices, except that
right.
I wrote a
it's
novel.
The echo chambers of belonging. It's the sort of, and here's my experience of every group somehow that I have been affiliated with, which is why I tend to be an outsider. I float in many, many different disciplines because my experience and I'm interested in many, many, many things.
Mm.
And I have noticed that every group ends up into some yes man totalitarian shit show of agreement where everybody's agreeing. You put up a post that has actually 20 minutes of reading, or a video that requires 30 minutes of your time, and people are already composing a conclusion about what's going on. And for me, it's like, dude, you just proved you're a fucking moron. Pardon my French. I dropped the F-bomb quite a lot. It's a problem. And I'm trying to clean that up because sometimes it gets in the way of trying to convey.
I don't know, it's a sign of intelligence, I always thought.
I agree. I
speak that way quite a bit myself, and when I'm in the right mood, trust me.
Yeah. So I know I'm very, very careful with that, because I know that I used to have a school on Teachable once upon a time, and I've just given it up because it just created just so much tension for me, because people were looking to me to tell them what the fuck to do. I'm not here to tell you what to do.
No.
You have to connect with your own true north. I'm not a guru. Don't believe anything I say. And I tell people that I'm sharing with you things that have worked for me. They might not necessarily work for you. And I have resources that I can point you to. That's all I'm doing. I'm just pointing at certain places. But don't, when shit goes down, you can't believe the emails that I get. I mean, if you printed them out, I printed one out. It went on for 10 fucking pages. And it was, little tiny prints, and I'm going, wow, this is like creepy stalker stuff, and I have actually a bin of emails where it's like, okay, very, very questionable, because they're unhinged in so much of their shadow stuff. And if they would just extricate themselves from some group and start thinking for themselves, or just be quiet for a bit and practice on being quiet and looking after yourself.
I mean, I've been through some magical groups, SOL and people like this, and I've finished up pretty much on doing my own thing. And, I like you, I interact with lots of people, and there are some people that I definitely make me think. Thomas Sheridan obviously makes me think. I don't always agree, but he makes me think. And
I don't agree with him a lot.
That's what I'm looking for, is to be challenged and to be motivated. But at the end of the day, I've also come to the conclusion that we are basically islands, and we create our own. We live in our little reality bubble.
Yes.
And
true.
And it's all about us. It can't be anything else, because I'm the only real thing here. I'm the only thing I know is really real. I mean, you know, you're just a picture on a screen. I assume you're a real person. Even my daughter, I interact with her, but how do I know?
Yeah.
I don't feel her
Right.
feelings. So it could be just, you know, I'm just pushing out a reality.
Yes. Yes.
So at the
Creating
end,
our own layer of the universe, each and
yeah.
every one
So
of us.
that means I can only be responsible for me. I can only be responsible for the way I interact.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be responsible for other people.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think a couple of people in my life have found. If my ex-wife, for example, I think she finds this difficult. She's so used to relying on Gary, you know, what Gary says. And I'm like, no, you've got to sort it out yourself. It's
Yeah.
your life, not mine.
Yeah.
What
And
I
that
did
is
may
a
have no
mistake that
relevance
people
whatsoever.
do.
You know?
Yeah. That is the mistake that people do, I think, in relationship is
Yeah.
to project that and this happens with men and women where they're looking to their mates to complete them, to fulfill them. And that is a big mistake. That is a recipe for disaster.
That's where all my relationships went wrong.
Yeah, because you can't live another person's life.
No.
I don't want to live in another person's life. And for myself, I have left every relationship I've ever been. And of course, why would they want to leave me? I'm a really, really good wife and a good girlfriend. I cook well, you know, I look after myself. I let you do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to be, you know, lording over you. In fact, I am notorious. I don't return texts. I don't return phone calls. I don't even do voicemails. So people, I left you a voicemail. I go, I'm sorry, I'm not going to listen to it. I don't do it. If you want to interact with me,
Yeah.
I tell people text, email is the best way. And only certain emails will work. And I only have one number. So that's it, you know, and I'm not going to do all these fucked up apps. I'm not going to do them. It's like, no. QR codes, absolutely not. I'm not scanning that. You know, you need to do it. You need to scan my invitation. It's like, no, I'm not.
No, I don't either. It's like artificial intelligence. Everybody, oh, you should use ChatGTP. Why the hell would I do that? I want nothing whatsoever to do with artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. And the last thing I need is to hand my skill set over to some dumb program.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't
and lose
do
it. No, thank you. I write my own.
I'm with you.
Do my own thinking.
Yeah, and I think that's important, and I think that's where a lot of the sort of just the sort of collectivism of moronic behavior is precisely because no one wants to think for themselves. No one wants to be accountable.
Well, but everybody's being told that you know, things like critical thinking and personal responsibility are far-right traits. So why would they?
Okay.
You're supposed to rely on the central authority, right? They've got your best interests at heart, and they're the ones that are going to save you and protect you. You know, in my world, if they tell you to do A, then I'm going to do Z. The last thing I'm going to do is what they tell me to do, because they do.
Yeah, I don't do any of the hip stuff. Forget it. It's not happening. I will do the opposite as well. And I've always been like that, you know. Yeah. I've always been like that. One of the things that happened when I was young, you know, I left home when I was very, very young, 14. And then I started university at 15. And I was actually recruited by second wave feminists at the very, very uber liberal Marxist college university that I was going to. And because I checked off a lot of boxes. Oh, you know, I'm Eurasian, I'm a woman of color, I'm young. I was an astronomy physics major, a minor in math. So I'm a geek and I can like really look after myself. And so these women, these middle-aged, very unhappy white women saw this opportunity at a university to adopt this cultural Marxism, to adopt women's studies, to adopt women's victimization with the patriarchy. Personally, I don't believe in the patriarchy, and I don't believe in the matriarchy. I realized that kind of shit was created because we women, we have a lot to answer for, and I get into a lot of trouble because I'm not down with feminism. I don't believe in a love and light only matriarchy. I think we women throughout history And even up to now, and it's getting worse, we are probably the most violent creature there is on the planet. If you push those buttons of vengeance, look the fuck out. And the damage that we have caused, not only, going into time immemorial, but the damage that we cause in utero to our children, and then we blame them, like the man-hating thing. I just am like, wow, it's just too much. It's too much. So I write about a lot of that. I had my original YouTube channel 9 years, and 2015 they'd had enough. I was wiped out. They just said, no more, you're gone. Wow. And and when they do that and you're monetized, it's like your money is gone. And I worked that one diligently with my business partner, my assistant Sabina, who passed away in 2018 at the age of 40. Just very, very shocking, where it's like it just goes. And for me, that was a trauma thing for me, because it was like I like you and Tomash, I push it and I push it and I push it. And, I dart in and out with shit posting and all that kind of stuff. And there's just like one day, the powers that want to be, they just tell you, fuck you. You are out of here. You're so fucking out of here and gone. And they just level your life. And so for me, I've had to learn how to repackage things, recreate things, say the same thing in a different way without triggering those keywords, without triggering the angry mob of women that want to come after me, because it's mostly women that want to come after me, because I am a patriarchy apologist. I'm a lover of white men only. It's like, the shit makes me
all
laugh.
those narratives, not a single original thought amongst them.
It is so insane, and I'm a grandmother. I'm going to be 65. I'm looking at Medicare, trainings to understand what the fuck all that is about, because I'm not part of the system. I don't participate in that.
I'm a
myself.
US citizen, but I doubt I'll ever come back. I'm UK and US. I doubt I'll ever come back to the USA to live, because I'm like you, I'm the same age. And I just don't want to have to deal with all. There's no place on earth I'd like to live more than the Gulf Coast of Florida. Trust me. To me, that's paradise. It's like
it's beautiful. It's beautiful there.
I love it. And
I love where I am.
I love your part of the world too. Four Corners, beautiful. But I like that Gulf, that Gulf Coast on Florida, below Tampa Bay. It's beautiful. I forget Anna Maria Island is my favorite place on the planet.
Wow.
And I've been there many, many times, and I'd love to go back again. And I used to think I'd retire and have a little house on the beachfront there. And then, I woke up one day and realized those are like $10 million, and I don't have $10 million, never will.
Holy crap. It's just way over the top around here. I used to live in San Francisco for many years, and I can't believe I thought that shit was normal. And then when I was really shown that I call it the San Francisco Bay Area of California. It's like, what the hell happened? And I saw how liberalism and the uber woke just destroyed California. And I love it there because it's beautiful. But I don't know what I was doing there. And when I moved, I remember getting my first property tax bill, and I'm thinking, this fucking can't be right. That's a mistake. And I realized that I was living in some like uber retarded bougie bubble. I don't know what I was thinking. It's like, because that is not normal. And people think it's cool. No. Why? For a lifestyle that wears you down, that handcuffs you with golden handcuffs, so that, you're just kind of like droning on this kind of narrow thing and not questioning stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I absolutely share that. When I was in Houston, and I tell people,
I lived there.
I was a dollar millionaire, right? So I lived the lifestyle of a dollar millionaire. I mean, I literally had 3 Mercedes, and I had a 29-foot boat, slept floor on Lake Conroe, a 4-bedroom house on a corner lot with a massive Olympic-sized swimming pool in the back. I had everything, but I was working my balls off.
Yeah, I was working my ass off too.
Stress.
Yeah, and three kids, 3 kids that weren't mine. It's like, and here's the funny thing, because when I divorced, I paid alimony. Like,
Wow.
I was like, California is a no-fault state. They don't give a shit. They don't care who is at fault. They only care that the person who was making the money just maintained that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So the person that's it was just like, no. And that was rude. That was one of the rude things. So I can imagine that you had gone through similar things as well, where you just wake up one day and you're going, holy moly. I mean, it was a scam. I got
Yeah,
scammed.
again, it was just a narrative, and I was living the
Yes.
narrative. The American dream is just another
Just
narrative.
bullshit.
And again, it's all about fear and control, because you're basically living your life always on the edge to keep up with the neighbors. And so, those three Mercedes were all on loans, and the house had a mortgage, and the pool made the mortgage bigger, and the boat was on a loan.
Oh my
And
God.
if anything, you lose your job or something, everything comes crashing down. So you live in fear and stress all the time.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
moved back to Europe with a suitcase with, just a couple of pairs of jeans, t-shirts, and underwear, and I
Damn.
lived in a room no bigger than the room I'm in right now, trust me, I realized that I didn't miss a thing except the people.
Yeah, I don't miss it.
And I've rebuilt. This is the third time I've rebuilt. I mean, I rebuilt when I met my daughter's mother. That lasted 12 years, and then this time I just left her everything. I don't care. I left her everything. I'll start again.
Yeah.
And I started again. I'm back on. I've got an apartment with a mortgage, but I've got to pay that off in another year or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've still got, I've got a couple of cars. I've got a 125cc scooter. So I'm accumulating crap again.
Wait. But you're accumulating on your terms now.
Yes. And my
and
car,
it's different. I have done the same thing. I've done
my
the same
car's a
thing.
Suzuki Jimny. And the reason my daughter says, why do you have this? It's horrible. I said, you don't realize this is a sought after vehicle. They're worth twice what you pay for them new. And the reason is because you want to go off road anywhere. This is the vehicle to have.
Yeah.
And that's why I have it, to go off road, to get into the forest, to go hiking.
Yeah. Yeah.
To escape from whatever if I have to.
I think it's a good reset. And I know for me, because when I was in Europa, I was there to work, to do book things. I was going for translation deals, and guess what? None of that shit worked out. So this life that I was supposed to have when I left America in 2017, and I was supposed to go on this, this book tour was going to go on and on and on. I went to all these different countries, had 4 different work visas, and just before the COVID, all the shit went south. It's like all of a sudden my visas are revoked. I'm stuck in Berlin, and none of my friends want to talk to me. They're like going, well, I don't know, we don't want her around, and I'm thinking, shit, I have a house sitter. I can't kick her out. And then the universe works miraculously, because all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I have frequent flyer miles. I can actually do this. And then I can come back and pack up all my shit in London and Arezzo, and then come back before everything goes to shit, because my passport was getting ready to expire. And when I get back to America, within 12 hours, I meet the Scotsman. So I hadn't had a relationship in like 10 years. It's like, okay, I had to get kicked out of the EU and non-EU and off of my book stuff to come back to New Mexico, to the house that I have. It wasn't my forever house, because I was getting ready to sell it once I moved to Arezzo permanently. And guess what? None of that shit worked out. The COVID happened. It's like, and then even that, like, I thank God for the tribe. I had 3 tribes simultaneously on social media, because if I didn't have those tribes, I think I would have lost my mind, honestly, because I know for me, and probably for you, because we're the same generation, did we ever think in a million fucking years this shit would go down? Because I had just turned 60, and I turned 60 in Sofia, Bulgaria, and with a bunch of friends that I had a falling out with, because I'd had enough of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that lifestyle. It's like, I don't even get it. I don't really drink. I don't do drugs.
I don't do drugs.
I don't understand this sort of
No,
woke.
that's what I said. I don't understand other people. I mean,
It's perplexing to me that these friends of mine were doing all this stuff and then wanting to leave a smaller carbon footprint, and yet they have a Bombardier Learjet. It's like, how do you rectify and do the math and look at yourself in the mirror and then scream at all these, uber right fascists, as you say, when you've got so much money, like you don't even know what to do with it. It's just so strange. And I realize I am in a simulated reality. I need to get the fuck out of it. It didn't make sense to me. So, government intervenes and all kinds of stuff happens and you get deported. And it's like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. So the redefining yourself and then starting from ground zero of creating your nest, all of my plants. I have over 300 plants in my house.
Wow.
And I have my own house. The Scotsman has his own house, and it's very, very functional. It's architectural. It's clean. It's zen. Not my place. No, I've got all the plants. I've got all the statuaries from all my travels. I've got, and like you say, it's like picking and choosing what is really aligned with you, what really expresses you. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about other people though, when this is where we started out, and I don't want to mention names, but there's a few people in my life who are alcoholics, addicted to alcohol or some other drug, and I just can't for the life of me. They want me to help them, and I'm like, well, quit drinking. Well, I can't. Well, I did. I quit smoking. I mean, if you really want to turn your life around, you've got to do it. I can't quit the drinking for you. You've got to do it.
Exactly.
And they look at me like I'm asking them to do, and I just, this is why I don't understand people. Sorry, I can't figure them out.
No, that drinking here is a thing, and then of course marijuana is legal. So you drive down any street and you have a strip mall of all these different shops. There will be 4 smoke shops with pot all right next to each other, and it is a thing. And you can't even drive down the street without getting overwhelmed by somebody's spliff or somebody's vape. I mean, what the fuck? I'm so happy that, I did all my drugs when I was 12.
I did a little bit later.
I did it all. It's like, get out of your system. And what I realized, this is an absolute fucking waste of time, because if I have to spend a day or two to recover from a binge of that stupid behavior, and I'm a musician, I'm also an artist. I made my living as a dancer once upon a time. So I've done all these different things. What a waste of fucking time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lay around on the couch and feel like shit and look like shit. It's like, it's no. That's not one of my values. I don't think it's cool.
I mean, when I went to college, the first thing I did was make friends with the guy in the class that had the longest hair, because I figured that he would have some weed. And he and I became like the 2 guys that were doing it was pot back then, not weed. It was resin, not weed. And after about a year of doing this with him, I realized, I just thought, what the hell am I doing? Because I'm here to learn. I have this opportunity. I'm a working class kid. Not everybody gets this opportunity. I need to take the opportunity and not piss it all away. So I quit. And I went on, I got first class honours, went on, did a PhD.
Right on.
My buddy, he carried on. He failed his second year, resat it, got third class honours and exited. He was brighter than me.
Yeah, but he was so overlaid. He was smoked out.
Yeah,
and here's the thing about that stuff.
Well, he went from that to LSD and
I've never dropped acid. I've not done that kind of stuff.
I think it comes down, for me, I think it came down to, I'd like to call it personal discipline, but back then I think it wasn't personal discipline. It was more some inbuilt sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And over time, as you grow up and you mature, then it becomes a sort of personal discipline. But initially, you're doing it not because of personal discipline, but because inside something's telling you this isn't part of what you're here for, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
You need to be
exactly.
doing something different, because otherwise and that sort of brings me back to the point where I think you live life for a purpose, and
Yes. Yes. Drugs and alcohol are going to get in the way because it breaks up your auric field and it makes you susceptible. You've got the green light and the invitation for the entities
yeah,
to come munch on you
yeah.
and hang out with you. You know, these entities are always looking for a tasty meal, a treat, a free ride to wreak havoc, you know, and you can't minimize the danger of that sort of behavior.
You see, the thing that I see all the time now is everybody's you know, no matter what topic it is, whether it's Ukraine or Israel or whatever, everybody's like wanting to. It's like Sheridan says it all the time as well. They're wanting to help people 6,000 miles away, but they haven't figured out who they are and done anything to help themselves.
Yeah.
And this is why the older I get, the more I think, you know, the only thing I can control is me. And in controlling me, I influence my reality, my life.
Yes.
And my life then impinges on other people's reality. And hopefully I can have a positive impact on where they go.
Yes.
And I know for sure that, you know, my kids, they all have challenges. Everybody has challenges, but I know for sure that they would say, you know, that I'm good at providing not direction, but making them think about what they're doing.
You're a fantastic role model, you know, and I know for myself, my stepkids, I have a great relationship with them. I don't hang out with them, you know, they're doing their lives. The oldest are, you know, they're in their 40s. They have families. They are in South America. And my youngest stepson was actually sponsored by he's a TikTok person. I mean, who knew this shit? I didn't know this, but I know that my free-spirited, my adventurous ways have influenced him. And so he was one of the youngest kids to navigate the Pan American Highway from Alaska to the tip of it in South America. And, you know, he's getting a book deal on and on and on and on. And he's going to be 21 this year. And he's such a cool kid because he was always like a little bit on the spectrum. I'm a little bit on the spectrum, whatever. But the great thing is that to be able to think for yourself and to model after people that you admire and to get out of that sort of group mind think do speak that so many teenagers become a part of, where they are hell-bent of belonging and wearing the same clothes and doing the same thing and talking like,
I have the same problem.
Be yourself.
I have the problem with my daughter right now because she's a bit like me. She's chip off the old block. She does think. She has her own perspectives. But she keeps running up against the wanting to be part of the crowd.
Yeah,
and
that
the other
pressure.
Girls. And I, you know, one of my friends who raised a daughter said, Gary, till you've had a daughter, you've never seen bitchiness.
They're bitches.
It's not the same with boys.
Horrifying.
So the way they treat each other is unbelievable. And he was right.
It is bully central.
Unbelievable behavior on the part of some of these girls. And but she's you know, she just needs a bit of support from time to time. But I'm pretty sure she's headed in the right direction.
Good.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But it must be tough to be a kid. I mean, it must be, because the narrative is maximum volume.
Right.
Quite the opposite to what it was. You know, it makes me laugh. The government, the UK government paid for me to have a free education all the way through to PhD. It paid for me to learn how to think for myself, how to be critical, how to be a real scientist, challenge, peer review, argument, debate. And now it wants to suppress me as a far right.
That is fascinating. Holy moly. Holy moly. Yeah. Yeah.
Full circle.
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah.
I don't get it, to be honest. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't know who they are, and I don't know what they want, but I want no part of it.
Yeah. I guess I am considered far right as well.
Well, I use the term jokingly.
Because you have common sense, basically.
I like the meme. I don't know whether you saw the meme on Facebook, and it was two very old ladies walking down the street, And it says, meanwhile in Ireland, the far right.
So awesome. Oh man, I like it. I like it so much. Well, and I'm getting close. Look at that. It's like the gray hair, the little bit. I mean, you start thinking about it. It's like, well, how long do I really have?
Oh
You know,
yeah, I have that. I'm thinking about that too occasionally.
like 15 years, I'll be 80. It's like, holy fuck. Do I
Yeah,
want to go there?
yeah.
I
Well,
guess.
I don't know. There's some days when I feel I'm still 45, something like that, and there's other days I feel 70.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep or something. But I keep thinking to myself, geez, 10 years from now, I'm going to be mid-70s. What the hell? How am I going to be hiking up mountains?
Well, yes, one foot in front of the other, as they say. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I think about that. I took a fall last year, learning how to ski for the first time.
Oh,
And
come on.
I unbelievable. This was an unbelievable thing. The Scotsman does magic. So like sleight of hand, card tricks, the whole 9 yards. And he was invited to this ski lodge, this resort, to do their winter gala, and one of the perks was private lesson to ski. I've been wanting to learn how to ski because I was always the mom at the lodge that we had. I was cooking for everybody, so I was like everybody's maid, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't learn how to ski. Yay, I'm 63. Holy shit, it was a big mistake because the guy that was my teacher, he was so out of it. He wasn't listening to me. I'd never been on skis, never been in ski boots, didn't know how to walk, didn't know anything. He put them on me. I stood up and he goes, follow me. And I'm going, what? He puts me on a fucking lift. Now, to my credit, I could do a lift because I've had kids and we've done lifts, that kind of thing in foreign countries, not to go skiing, but just to get to the top of something,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh, dear God, this is not going to be good. No instruction whatsoever, none. And I end up tearing my meniscus and a very bad, severe concussion.
Bloody hell.
I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. And of course, I'm thinking, because I very young in spirit, I'm going, well, I guess I'm just gonna I'm gonna rally, I'm gonna fucking do this shit. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't even know how to stand up. I didn't know how to do anything. I couldn't even walk. I didn't know. He didn't tell me anything. So long story short, what I should have done is I should have just said, oh, hell no. I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't know what I'm doing. But I didn't. I did not advocate for myself. So my bad. It's all on me. But what was interesting is the lack of response that I got when I wrote the ski lodge. I wrote the CEO several times. I got nothing. I got absolutely zero. So what I did, it's called leaving a review. So I just slammed them with all this stuff. And, it felt really good to do. And then what ended up happening for me is that I got this perspective of me taking personal responsibility for my reality, which I did not. And I ended up writing a blog about it, which got a lot of really, really great response, because that's the whole thing that happens with a lot of pop culture and a lot of activities is we get bullied into doing things.
Yeah.
And like the guy knocking on my safety helmet, get out of your head, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? So it was very rude. So I spent much of last year in recovery with a concussion, and it triggered a lot of memory from the abuse that I got from my mom. And that was one of her favorite things, was to hit me about the head. So I got a lot of trauma from that kind of stuff. And so the theme of taking responsibility for taking care of yourself and looking after yourself and boundaries and saying no, the lost word of no. Amazing, and I teach this stuff. And what did I do? I checked out. I completely checked out.
Yeah, well, but yeah, I mean that we're only human. It's my daughter tells me quite often if I'm complaining, I mean, I don't know why I complain, because I don't mind being single, if the truth be told. I'll complain, I'm single and, I don't meet anybody and stuff like that. And she looks at me and she said, Dad, you're always telling me, be positive, visualize, create reality, don't be negative. What are you doing? No wonder you don't meet any women.
Oh, out of the mouths of
I'm
babes.
like, God damn it, you're right.
Oh, oh shit. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Well, but that's the horrid thing, I suppose we're all the same. I can write some article that somebody will say, wow, wow. And I'm like, no, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not some kind of guru or anything. I probably wouldn't live up to my own words.
Oh, I definitely don't. I am very, the Scotsman and I are very similar, because he's on the spectrum, I'm on the spectrum. We're both avoidant, but we're both willing to come together and hang out. And and what's really great about it is that we have similar interests. So the introversion, the hermitage, we went on a road trip for 3 weeks and we drove around, and the majority of the time we did not speak. And I know people who think that is weird. That's our happy place. We can coexist in the Jeep, in the same car, in a room, and we don't have to speak to each other. There's just the immersion of being together without having to, say a thing. And it doesn't feel awkward to me. Maybe to some people it would, but you don't have to fill up silence with noise or with words. You don't have to. So I like that about us, whereas before I've been accused of do you have anything to say? I have plenty to say, And the other thing that I like too with the Scotsman is that he's not interested in my work, which I think is fantastic because I don't have to explain myself. I can just do my research. He'll go, "Oh, what are you reading?" And I'll show it to him. I'll tell him a little bit about it, and he just kind of moves on. And we're both musicians. He's learning the piano. I've been playing the piano since I was 3, so it's cool. It's just a really nice way of converging, going off, converging, going off. And I think, I'm actually working on a video right now on the green flags of relationships. What are the green flags? Everybody's talking about a red flag. Well, let's talk about the shit that works, or the qualities that I think are bottom line requirements for any relationship, and especially a relationship where, you're going to have sex with them. It's like you need a basis of camaraderie and being able to get along and being able to sit in silence without feeling guilty or ashamed or feeling bullied that you have to say something, and to have your own interests.
Yeah,
I think is super important, and to be passionate about those interests. So you're not sitting about the place, just zoning off on television or something, some distraction that is just gonna, just suck you into the screen and you're never going to be seen again. It's like, I know so many people like that. I mean, the conversations that my neighbors are having about, did you see that show? I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. I'm like, what is that show? But I'll ask the Scotsman, he'll know. He will know what show. So it's just fascinating to me. And I don't slam him for it, but he's kind of like my go-to for, a sort of normalcy of what's on the boob tube or what's streaming lately. Because I just, what do I stream? I got all my favorite video content creators. I've got it all on cue. I want to have a moment. I have some time. I hit it. I hit play. And that's what I'm interested in,
Yeah, me too.
And books, Yeah, stuff. I've got 20 books on my Kindle.
Well, I was just about to say, why don't you explain where people can find out more about you and maybe buy some stuff or whatever?
Okay, so I think the best place is to go to my YouTube channel, which is Love, Truth, and Beauty. You can also find me on the Facebook. I'm very, very friendly, and I will vet your ass, I promise, because there's too many crazy people like yourself. Hi. Would you like to chat with me? I love this. This is my favorite. Tell me about yourself. I'm just like, oh, fuck off. You're gone. Or will you chat? It's like, I can chat. what are you, nuts?
Yeah.
I'm on here posting something, and I usually use a third-party app, so I'm not even on that. But it's like the nerve of some people, and then they get butt hurt because you're not going to talk to them.
Yeah,
Oh, don't be like that.
They get all weird. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. Why the hell would I waste my time? I'm not waste my time, but I got better things to do until I know what. Do you need something specific? You know.
Yeah.
Hi.
So,
Goodbye.
anyways, getting back to that, I do have a website called Love, Truth, and andbeauty.com, and we are actually reworking it. You can go there. The old thing is still there, but a new thing is about to come up, and yeah, that's really about it. I have 2 books that are out on Amazon. You can find me there, and I have a book, 2 versions of it, Effed Wide Open, The Rude Awakening of the Heart-Based New Humanity. And it basically talks about what we've been talking about, where, you know, it's like all of a sudden, yikes, I'm alive. And what am I doing? What have I been doing with my life? And the sort of, you know, it's the heroes and heroines' journey into the underworld where you realize, this is not my fucking fabulous life. Oh my God, what do I do?
Exactly.
And to get real.
It's funny you mention that, because one thing I've said this before, but one thing I've been doing this winter is I've been working with Mahrrr-ya, who's the Slavic goddess of winter and death. But I've been using her as the gateway into my own subconscious, in the idea of take me into the darkness and let me find light.
Sweet.
And it's been quite productive, actually, and very interesting. And the way I see that is it's like the hero's journey, because I'm going down into the darkness, having some kind of a battle experience, but emerging with something of value. And Mahrrr-ya is the gateway to that experience.
Yeah, that is so cool. I like the winter season. I always used to joke, you know, when I would just get pissed and frustrated and very flippant, that I wish that I could go into hibernation, like literally the 30th of October and wake up on the 21st of March for spring. But now I've been working with the goddess Hecate. So crossroads, because, you know, I think that one of the things that we humans have to do is that we have to question anytime there's some kind of like reactivity, or you don't like shit, or you start to judge everybody, or you start to sit there and pick at yourself. It always is a crossroads signal for me. And what I like about Hecate is that, she doesn't hold any punches. Because she's always, at least this is my experience of her, it's like, honey, it's all you. There's nobody else. There's no other. It's you. It's you and your fancy.
That's what I said earlier. So we're in the same place, exactly.
Yeah, it's all you. So I've got her here. I've got her there. I mean,
I have Mahrrr-ya here, and Mahrrr-ya is Hecate, but just in the Slavic pantheon, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and she's just like, she goes, there's no finger pointing there. Oh my God, you know, don't do it. Don't do it, you know. And I'm just like, yeah.
Well, with that, let's leave it there, because it's getting late here. It's been a delight to talk to you. I'm glad we finally met.
Yes, me as well.
Let's do this again sometime.